A bipartisan group of senators worked through the Thanksgiving holiday to try to figure out a deal on border security. Republicans are asking for border legislation to be tacked onto the White House's wider foreign aid bill that includes financial support for both Israel and Ukraine. Republican Senator James Lankford joins us now. He's one of the lawmakers trying to hammer out that deal. Senator, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Are you any closer to a border deal now than you were before the holidays?
We are working through bit by bit, trying to be able to make progress. As you know, the Biden administration, when they first released this national security package, they asked for funding for Ukraine, for Israel, for what's happening in the Pacific, and for additional funding for the southern border. We responded back to that and said, hey, more money is not going to actually solve the southern border. In fact, the administration has actually said that as well, saying more money is not going to solve it. It's got to be policy. So we're trying to bring some policies on this to be able to actually resolve the issues at our southern border, which is most certainly out of control.
So what are the key sticking points right now as you work with Democrats to try to come up with something? And have you definitively rejected the Democratic push to include legalizing Dreamers or some kind of pathway to citizenship as part of this bill?
So for 35 plus years, there's been this ongoing conversation about how do we do this comprehensive bill. And every time you start getting large on all the immigration issues, one more thing gets tacked on and the whole thing falls apart. I've been a big advocate to say, let's find the areas we can agree on. Let's move on those things and to be able to keep moving. There are a lot of areas that will not be addressed in this. But a key area right now that DHS has asked for a long time has been how do we actually have the authorities that we need to be able to actually manage our own border. Right now, they're screening about 500 people a day coming across our border and releasing about 7,000 into the country saying we'll get to you later. That line for the later is now into the 4 to 8 years now to actually get to later if we ever get to them at all. And some of the people that are released into the country, they literally have no plan, no idea when they're going to get to. So we've got to be able to resolve this. So if you've got 7,000 plus people a day, day after day, that we don't know who they are, we don't know their background, we don't know anything about them that are being released in the country. Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City, cities all over the country are saying we've got thousands of people here with no jobs, no plans, no anything else. We can't manage all of this. And so whether you're red state or blue state, people are asking around the country, how do we get to an orderly process that we can actually screen people at the border? If they should qualify for asylum, they come into our country to be able to do that. And if we don't, we do the same thing that we've done for decades, and that's turn them around. So we just got to find what authorities are needed to be able to do that and come to that agreement.
So how long do you think realistically it will take you to reach that agreement? Because the White House has been arguing funding for Ukraine is running out. They need to provide funding for Israel as well. And I know that these are things that you care about. So how long are you willing to work on this side deal on border security before you say we can't wait any longer, we're jeopardizing aid to key allies?
We have got to be able to resolve all these things at once. As I go back to the White House had 4 pillars in the very first presentation of this, saying these are the 4 essential things that need to be done. We've got to be able to finish up what is that 4th element of this, the border security package, to be able to get to it. This has been hard negotiations, as it has been. That's why nothing's been done for more than 3 decades in this area, and it continues to get worse and worse and worse every year. So we're at a breaking point now where whether you're Democrat or Republican around the country, people are saying we just want an orderly legal process. We want legal immigration and we want to deter illegal immigration. That shouldn't be a partisan issue. And so our focus has been how do we actually get to that orderly process where we encourage legal and discourage illegal. So we know we have days to get this resolved, and we're focused on it just with that effort to know we've got final days to resolve this.
You think you can resolve it by mid-December?
We have to, so we will. Congress works best on a deadline, and we most certainly have a deadline on this.
No question. The Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Senate, called Republican proposals to resume construction of the border wall. He called it a quote, non-starter. What border measures do you think could garner support from Democrats?
So it's interesting, border security and national security shouldn't be a Republican-Democrat thing, and for the Democratic leader to talk about if we're going to increase our border security, that's a Republican ask, is surprising to me in some ways on this, because most Americans that I talk to are very grateful to be able to have legal immigration happening in the country. They just don't want unchecked illegal immigration, and that's what we have. We had just in the past few days more than 7,000 people a day that were released in the country. To give you a perspective on this, if you go back to 2010, not that long ago, in 2010 we had 21,000 people a year that asked for asylum on our southern border. Now we have that every 3 days. So this is significantly different than things that we have actually experienced in the past. And so all we're trying to do is say, let's have an orderly legal process here where we have lawful pathways to be able to come in the country, and we discourage illegal pathways.
No question that the numbers have exploded. So what's your sense of where the compromise is here, and how do you discourage asylum seekers? How do you essentially decide before they get here to the United States who has a legitimate claim to asylum and who doesn't?
Well, the asylum law is the asylum law. It's been that way for a long time. It just right now, you don't actually get to an asylum hearing for years. So you're released in the country. The vast majority of individuals never come to complete that whole hearing process, and they disappear into the country. And it continues to promote this come one, come all across the world on it. So we've seen that challenge. So at this point, I can't talk through exactly how we're going to get there. We've got some things that are resolved and some things that are unresolved. That's the nature of a negotiation. But we all understand the importance of it. And my focus is, this is the moment that we've got to be able to resolve border security. The entire country is asking for it, regardless of political party. Let's actually resolve this. And so we're pushing to actually say, let's keep working until we get it done.
If you can't get it done, are you willing to vote to support aid to Israel and to Ukraine without it?
Our caucus has been very clear as recently as today that we've met and said we're not going to move to be able to help other countries' national security and not support the security of the United States of America. We have not only responsibility in other countries, we have responsibility right here. And right now, American national security is being ignored, and that's about to come to an end.
Understood. Senator James Lankford, Oklahoma, will be watching.